Alright, it's the number 88, probably, of my accountability to myself, and I appreciate everyone's attention who watches this. So today was such a kind of regular day, but I studied some less than over the past 4 days. For example, I studied for only 5 hours 30 minutes, but at the same time, it's almost 11 p.m. right now, so I will be able to fall asleep some earlier and probably wake up not at 8 a.m. but at least 7:30. And then and then I had about 40 minutes that I spent, not 40, I guess about 30 minutes that I spent before recording this video to think about my thoughts about the things that I listened to today. And there are some ideas that I would like to share with what actually means knowledge and why is this so important, and how to understand this concept correctly. I'm not saying that I understand this concept correctly, but at least I want to share with an idea, and then if someone probably who watches this can try to think on your own. At least for me, those reflections out loud, they make me remember better. So that's why I want to mention about this. And so the first thing that I didn't actually know, how can I explain it? That over the past 3 months, for example, I became way more disciplined. I absolutely don't need any cheap spikes of dopamine, such as watching reels, and I even it's disgusting for me every time when I open Instagram, and if by some random chance I start watching reels, it might happen, for example, once per week, when I just open some when I reply to some people, and then I decided to check reels, and if the first video is skateboarding, most likely I'm gonna watch one more, because skateboarding is something really interesting to me. And when I watched like third video, I realized that seriously, it's been less than minutes since I started watching reels, and I watched 3 videos that doesn't bring me any value at all, and on the contrary, it even destroys me, because I might compare myself to someone. I basically waste my time. So I don't even like to watch reels. And normally my day is such a productive time spending, because mostly everything I do, sleep, eat, study, training, gym training. That's all. So today, no, it's not about today, it's about the past 3 months. I started studying more and more. Sometimes I have periods when I need to prepare to exams, then I can study less overall knowledge and concepts, and I need to study more my subjects. For example, as now mostly I study my subjects because I will have exams in 3 weeks and I don't want to cut it close. That's why I'm preparing now, so I will have some more free time. I will have some flexibility and some more opportunities due to my free time. And I didn't know how to call this phase. It's like self-development. It's too superficial. Like everyone can say like self-development, and it sounds like a joke. And I found an answer. The first is human capital accumulation. It's basically when you invest time, your resource in yourself, which now isn't reflected anyhow in monetary unit, but in the long run, it can bring significant value. Second possibility, how could we call this phase, is internal compounding phase, because externally you don't see any changes, nothing changes in your life externally, at least significantly. For example, In some moments I feel more confidence. If I study languages, I can speak better, apply better, maybe understand better, but it's not the matter. um, what I mean is that nothing significantly changes, but inside you feel that something tremendous happened, some kind of epiphany. Because over the past 3 months, I realized that my perspective changed, my perception of the world, my treatment to myself, my evaluation of the time, of the future, of my aims, of everything that tied with my life became way more precious. My time became way more precious for me, because I understand what is behind this time, what is behind of what is inside in my brain, why sometimes I have some some kind of desire. I understand why, what's going on in my brain, how it's called. I can understand that if I avoid something, it means that I'm scared, and if I'm scared, it's most likely because once I was compared or I was judged, and now my brain says to me it's dangerous, you don't need to do this. But when you understand this, you actually see this idea, you can see this idea that it's not that bad. And actually there's one more, a great strategy. When you're scared of something, you just write down all the things what are you scared of, and then you realize it's not that scary, and you can actually do this. And when you understand all of those concepts, how to ask yourself correctly, it's very important first of all to ask yourself correctly. I don't know if someone knows about concept of 7 whys. I've never applied it. I tried a couple of times, but it's hard. It takes some time to think. And I want to start applying this, but in general, it's very important to ask yourself in a correct way, because therefore you can take a right decision as a result of a right question. And what allows us to ask ourselves right questions, to broaden our perspective, these are overall knowledge. What does mean overall knowledge? It's when you study, for example, you study 1 week, you immerse yourself in marketing. Second week, you immerse yourself in biology. So you don't really study this, for example, for a year, and then you don't feel like it, and then you feel like it doesn't really bring me money, I need to do something else. It's just jumping from one field to another one. It's not about this. It's about literally studying. So for example, for 1 week, more maybe for 1 month, if you really like a subject, a topic, you can you can immerse yourself for 1 month to study it, and then you can see some patterns in this life. You can explain more things to yourself through the topic you've studied. For example, for me, when I studied economics, for me, such things as perfect competition, monopolistic competition, oligopoly, and monopoly, those four concepts explain a lot. I can see some patterns through this behavior in the market. I can see my life better, put it in this way. Then, for example, studying biology or studying neuroscience, we can understand better how the person behaves, and as a result of that, understanding better how a person behaves, you can start selling better, because you understand what's going on in person's mind. You don't even understand what's going on in person's mind, but you know how to figure it out correctly when the person can open to you. And the bottom line is that the more you study, the more knowledge you accumulate, the more patterns you can see, and the easier it becomes to keep studying. So it's very powerful. And there's a person, Warren Buffett, and today I didn't check this information honestly, but I heard it from one really reliable person, I would say. And he said Warren Buffett spends 5 hours daily studying, and which is very important, not just study. For example, one of my issues, I like to study, then put on my earphones, and with music I went somewhere. And the problem is I don't allow myself to reflect enough, because what's very important, to have the room when you can actually reflect on what you've studied. And that's why I decided that I would rather study a couple of hours less, but at the same time I have some spare times that I can devote to reflections. Because, for example, today I managed to start talking about this topic only because I spent 30 minutes analyzing what I've learned today. And most of the things I'm talking about, I convinced about this based on my experience, even though I don't have a lot of experience. This is, I would say, I base actually on the last 2 years, but mostly on the last 3 months. And this concept about accumulated knowledge, about reflections, I was listening one video, and it's actually video, I don't know, I would say I can say it's like a lecture. It's literally like a lecture with explanation how it works. And if I didn't allocate some time to reflect on this, I wouldn't be able to talk about this right now, because I needed to process those thoughts. I needed actually to think about this, to write this down. And it really works, because just consumption knowledge, it's not really enough. Something sticks in your mind, but it's not really efficient. At the same time, for example, it's better to spend 5 time to study 1 hour to reflect than 6 hours of studying, for example. And it's very important to give some time, at least 10 minutes every evening, to write down your thoughts and to think about what you actually studied per day. Because in my case, normally I study something per day. Going to the home after the gym, most likely I'm listening to some kind of lectures about some concepts and about behavior, about brain functions and so on. I just like it. Or probably I listen to such people as Alex Hormozy, who also talks about very important things, because it's the person who pulled up from nothing, from being absolutely broke, like literally broke. Like I cannot call myself broke, because I have a lot of free time that I can devote to myself, and I'm not homeless. All right, so I'm not really broke, and he was like literally broke, and now his capital like hundreds of millions of dollars. And so I listen to such content, and it's very important to analyze this content, to take some notes. But sometimes I cannot take notes because I go from the gym to home. Like during while being on my way, I cannot just take any notes. So I just listen to this content, and anyway, it requires to process it. By the way, that's one of the reasons why I want to learn my subjects, to get prepared to my exams as soon as possible, because then I will have more time for studying, reflecting, analyzing without interruptions by my university subjects, and without guesses, will I have enough time to get prepared? Without anxiety, I would say. Just yeah. And I guess I've said everything. That's like the main idea, what I try to explain, that studying overall knowledge is very important. Study concepts, study different kind of informations, and at the same time very important to reflect on this information, to allow yourself to think about this, to ask yourself questions, to ask yourself deeper questions. At least 3-4 questions. Why do I think in this way? Why not another way? And today we live in such an amazing time when we have AI, when we have internet, we can literally find any information. Like today we have access to all the information. For example, thousand years ago, no one king, nobody could have as much information, as much access to information, to knowledge as we have today. And it's just a matter of usage our gadgets, because our phone is so powerful tool that we can study, I know, about nuclear bombs, about physics, about math, about everything, about neuroscience, but at the same time, most of the people prefer just scrolling. And you can also find an answer why people do this through studying, through understanding how your brain works, through understanding why that your brain is wired to survive and wired to get pleasure, not go through hard path. That's why most of the people do not choose this. They choose comfort over growth, because they they don't understand how the brain works, how to work with that. But it's a topic for another video. So that's all for today. I didn't really mention what I studied. In the morning I spent 1 hour 30 minutes to study. Then I went to the gym. I returned from the gym. I studied law for 2 hours, intercultural skills for 1 hour. And by the way, it's so hard. We have a group assignment, 5 people. Nobody wants to do anything. We have this assignment since November. We have deadline in 2 days. We need to make 4 interviews and to make a poster. 5 times over the past 2 weeks I wrote in the group. I got answers only twice from 2 people. We have 5 people in our group. I'm supposed to do at least 2 interviews, maybe even 3, because I know it's really hard to rely on people. I swear. That's why I really like to work alone. If I have an assignment that I'm supposed to execute alone, I will execute it 100%. Just I know this. If I have an assignment to execute with someone, I really need to be careful about people I choose to work with. And I'm not complaining actually, because I know that even in the very beginning I had an opportunity to choose another team. I just haven't done this because I know why. I have the reason, like the reason is so stupid, but anyways, I was like, it was like end of the day, it was 6 p.m. and I was, should I go to that group of 2 people and ask them, can I join their team? Like, come on, I don't want, like, I knew those people are reliable. If I worked with them, it would be way more profitable for me and easier. But I was like, nah, I don't care. So it's basically my mistake, right? Yeah, and I don't know, did I mention or no, I studied French for 30 minutes and read a book for 30 minutes. By the way, French, studying for 30 minutes per day, it's like nothing. By the way, I have exam in 4 days, speaking exam, French. So probably I will spend some more time because I want to get prepared some better. Alright, it's all for today. And it was such a long and I hope such a profitable video for someone. And see you the next time.